Inception marketing is 100% about catching a pulse of your market without spending a single dollar. This is critical when you're thinking about building a new piece of software, a tech startup. The goal is to understand whether the problem that you think exists actually does. Lots of people can do this with spending money. You can spend a lot of time. You can build a first product and watch it fail. Some people get lucky, but most don't. The goal is to really identify whether the problem that you think exists actually does. So I've come up with a formula. It's got 6 various steps, and we're going to go through those steps today. Again, the goal is to do this all without spending a dollar. Let's jump right in. Inception Marketing has 6 different platforms that you're going to leverage to try and catch a pulse of the market. At a high level, and starting in the top left, you're going to take a look at Google Trends. This is going to be an incredibly powerful platform. Take a look at what the current demand is and the historical demand is for the industry, the topic, the problem, the solutions that exist in the marketplace today, and what is happening in the consumer marketplace over a period of time. If you're thinking about building a technology startup, you're likely going to be a competitive participant within this economy, within this attention economy. So the goal is to really understand if demand exists for your idea at all. We're also going to leverage LinkedIn groups. This is a super powerful and free tool to utilize. We want to identify like-minded professionals, individuals that are in the industry that you aim to solve a problem for, and we want to take a look at the conversations that they're having and whether the problem organically exists and whether there are solutions in the market already. Google Maps is definitely going to be helpful for a bunch of different ways along your journey. But at Inception, we want to utilize Google Maps to try and identify the types of businesses that you're going to aim to target. If the businesses don't physically exist, you're going to run into a significant challenge as you think about who you're going to sell this product to. So the goal is to utilize Google Maps early and often to literally find the organizations and their relevant details, what companies are saying about them, what consumers are saying about them, and leverage this free solution to identify literally where does the business target and the customer target exist. We're also going to leverage Quora and Reddit and other social platforms that are going to allow us to jump into conversations to identify whether a conversation is about the problem that you aim to solve. This is a very effective way of inserting yourself into a discussion and stimulating whether the problem has been solved or not. It's not a bad thing as to whether the problem has been solved. Perhaps you have a competitive edge. You have that, key feature that's going to find you product market fit. But important to identify whether that exists in the marketplace or not, and whether the problem that you aim to solve actually exists in the first place. Generic Google search is going to become your best friend. This can also be any search platform, whatever your fancy, DuckDuckGo, Bing, Yahoo, whatever you enjoy as a search engine, leverage that platform. This is going to be the ability to identify existing competitors in your space. What is their market advantages? What's happening within their fundraising environment? What's happening within their revenue environment? Any announcements that are happening across your competition? It's also just going to allow you to generally query the search engine and identify whether that industry has a problem that you might be suited to solve. Last but certainly not least is social media hashtags. We're going to leverage social media platforms from Instagram to YouTube to TikTok to LinkedIn, whatever social network you're actually comfortable with. We can leverage those in the form of search engines. By thinking about the social media hashtag as a search query, we can identify niche markets and then ultimately identify the people that are within those niche markets. This is a great way of beginning conversations with strangers. asking questions as to whether the problem that you think exists currently does. The first platform that we're going to aim to utilize is Google Trends. Google Trends is going to be super helpful, again, for us to identify demand around a problem that you aim to solve. It's also going to help show locations in which the problem may exist, related queries that might exist around the topic. You can also leverage Google Trends to find things like articles or current public conversations that are having around the topic that you aim to solve. Any media, any news, Google Trends is going to become your best friend. There are things to consider when utilizing Google Trends when you're thinking about catching a pulse of the market. First of all, is there any idea that exists within this market that currently has demand? Demand should be the signal as to whether you should go ahead and create this product in the first place. If there's no demand for your problem statement, it's probably a good signal that you should not move forward with this build. This will be incredibly impactful. This will be incredibly time consuming, emotionally taxing, and probably something that you should consider not building if there's no current demand for the problem you aim to solve. You also want to take a look at locations. Location is a really important signal. Does this problem exist in a specific place? Is this a national level problem? Is there a saturation or concentration of where this problem may exist entirely? We also want to take a look at things like seasonality. We want to take a look at the peak of demand. Is there a heyday that this problem existed in the past that maybe we're, on the other side of the solutions for this problem? As with anything in Inception marketing, if you fail the Google Trends signal, pause. This is likely the time that you need to realize that this idea should not be built. If you do pass this step, let's continue on to qualify. We want to leverage LinkedIn groups, a free platform for you to utilize to speak to specific professionals within the industry that you aim to solve this problem for. It gives you the opportunity to interject into a conversation, start discussions with your potential customers, and ultimately determine whether the idea that you think exists actually does. This is a great way to identify the true breadth of the problem. By talking to people that live and breathe in this industry, you might get some really strong insight, maybe shape the idea a little bit deeper. Or perhaps you can't find anybody that has this problem other than you. That is possible. So the goal here is to really utilize LinkedIn groups, which you'll have to join, become a participating member, and leverage those relationships that you'll build in that group to try and do a little bit of data collection. If the groups don't exist, this is a red flag. If the discussions that you're having in these groups do not complement the problem that you aim to solve, this is a red flag. LinkedIn groups can be an incredibly powerful way to help identify whether the problem that you think exists actually does. Google Maps. This is going to be incredibly valuable as you try to geolocate both your competition and your target customer. If you're building a technology startup, the goal is to create a solution in the economy that is ultimately valuable to business owners, to consumers. We want to identify where those businesses are and where those individuals may live, where they may work, where they may entertain themselves. The goal is to identify literal businesses that might consume your product. We want to find their multiple locations, their headquarters. We want to find out where they're proximally located, where they might have satellite offices. The goal is to figure out what do these businesses specialize in, who are the competition that you're up against. We want to take a look at these businesses and their websites. Maybe some of the pain points that they experience are revealed. This is a great way of leveraging Google Maps to identify where your existing competition might be or where your customers could potentially be in the future. If you can't find your customer on Google Maps, this is a big red flag. If you can't find competition on Google Maps, This is a big red flag. If you fail this step, you're going to have a really hard time trying to do a business to business or business to consumer sales strategy. You should take this particular step as an opportunity to pause and reevaluate whether the problem that you aim to solve is worth the emotional, financial, and spiritual overhead to make this business actual. When we think about social platforms, we typically think about the traditional Instagrams, the Facebooks, the TikToks, but we want to also take a look at forums, platforms like Quora and Reddit. These are great ways to identify whether a problem actually exists within a marketplace and actually speak to the individuals that are discussing the problem. You can start your own discussions. You can join existing forums with hyper niches. This is a great way of being able to understand the environment of the industry that you aim to solve a problem for. It's also a great way to build reputation. It's also a good way to find professionals and experts within the industry and create direct relationships. They might also turn into your future customers. This is a great way of distilling whether competition has already been in the marketplace and whether there is a solution available for the industry that you aim to solve a problem for. This is a good opportunity to find an audience, find the businesses that are all experiencing the problem. So if you're not able to find these types of things on a Quora or a Reddit, this should be a big red flag. We don't want to go down the path of trying to solve a problem that does not exist. When we think about Google search or any search platform, this can be DuckDuckGo or Bing or Yahoo, any traditional search platform is going to be incredibly valuable as you try to figure out the breadth of the problem that you aim to solve. This is going to be a great way of identifying competition, customers, the breadth of the problem that could be discussed throughout the media or over the news. This is a big way of intersecting with the greater economy of the conversation. Things to consider are the general use case of Google search. Typing in keywords, typing in questions, typing in pain points and problem statements. Ultimately, take a look at some of the ads that are at the top of Google search result pages. Those are your competitors that are plugging into this discussion looking for customers. Those are going to be the organizations that have already been first movers in this industry to try and solve this problem. It's a great idea to become a student of your competition if they exist. If competition does not exist, that's a red flag. It's okay to be a first mover if you're passing the rest of Inception Marketing, but competition is a really healthy thing. It also makes sure that the problem you aim to solve is well justified, well supported, potentially that there's investors and financial backing for this conversation. This is also going to give you the ability to take a look at long form content. Blogs, forums, articles, white papers, anything that might exist within the media or the news. And this is a great way of digesting whether the problem that you think exists actually does. If you fail at the generic Google search experience, this is a big red flag. Definitely consider whether the problem you aim to solve is worth it if you can't find anybody having the conversation at scale around the problem and solutions that may or may not exist. We want to leverage social media. Social media, not necessarily in a way of voyeurism, but in a way of search engine. We want to take a look specifically utilizing hashtags, finding accounts that are posting content, and leveraging the big social platforms from Instagram to Twitter to TikTok to X, whatever exists at the time that you're watching this video. We want to utilize these social platforms as search engines. Try and find the individuals or the businesses that are creating solutions or waving the flag that the problem exists in the first place. This is a great way of intercepting an audience, of inserting yourself into a discussion or creating conversation with people that might be within this audience or community, and figuring out what are the various ways that you can create a full product, a full service or solution that aims to solve the problem in this industry. If you're struggling across social media platforms to try and identify any business or any individual that has this problem that you aim to solve, this is a big red flag. If you can't find anybody else or any other business that currently has the problem that you've identified, you should consider potentially stopping before you invest financially, emotionally, spiritually into the next problem. Last but not least, and for bonus, timely depending on when you're watching this video, has to do with AI platforms. There are a lot of them. Today we'll just leverage, the inception of potential consumer and retail AI, which is ChatGPT through OpenAI. Have a conversation with an AI chatbot. Talk about the problem that exists. Leverage that chatbot to help do the research for you. Ultimately, it's going to have an expansive ability to query a space, an industry, competition. You can ask it complex questions and it'll be able to understand it in a way that you might not be able to just leverage a search engine or a social media platform or some of the other solutions like Google Maps. You could ask it questions like, where is my buyer? Where do they live? What are the types of problems that they have? Are there any press releases or news that's around this industry? Are there any competitors that exist in the space? If ChatGPT is getting stumped, this is a big red flag. If they're not able to provide you with a significant solution or a competitor that exists in space, take pause. This should be a really helpful solution in helping you to distill whether the problem that you think exists actually does.